Hello everyone, this video is designed to be a supplementary guide to fitting your Axon controller. This video will focus on the harness and the connectors, highlighting where they go and how you fit them on the bike. If you are looking for other bikes, we have a video for the Talaria Sting and also for the Sur-Ron Ultra Bee, but this video in particular will focus on the Sur-Ron Light Bee. So first, before we start, I would like to pop up an information aid. You'll see now from this picture that we have labeled each connector with a number, and also we have some supplemental information on the left-hand side of the screen. You can refer back to this at any time if you need to while you're fitting the bike. And also, when you receive your harness will be labeled with the corresponding numbers on each of the connectors. So let's start with, firstly, the controller side of the harness. On the controller side, we have three connections. Connection 1, Connection 2, and Connection 3. Connection 1 is the connector that is closest to the larger connector, Connector 2. This is an 8-pin connector. Number 2 is a 16-pin connector, and both of these go up on the top left-hand side of the back of your controller as you look at it. You can't really get these wrong because there isn't enough space to separate them far enough to go to the bottom of the controller, and one is an 8-pin and one is a 16-pin. Then finally, connector 3 has a much longer cable, as you can see, and it is also an 8-pin connector. So now we move on to connector 4 and connector 5. This is moving on to the bike harness, and you will see one is a 9-pin square connector, and the other is a rectangular 8-pin connector. When you remove your standard Sur-Ron controller, you will be removing connectors that look very similar to these, and these connectors just replace the position of those connectors. So you will find on the bike there are two connectors which correspond with these, which these go into on the main bike harness of your Sur-Ron. Next, we have the connector marked connector 6. This connector is a small black circular connector with a blue insert. This is for your display. I have a display here so I can show you the fitting of it. The Axon display has 3 separate connections. They are all very similar, but they are color-coded, and one is much longer than the others. This is the connector that connects directly into connector 6. It is a blue connector. They are both colored blue. One is female and one is male. The other blue connector does not fit, and we're not using it at the moment anyway. So if you have this connector, you don't need to use it. So for the purpose of connecting to connector 6 on your harness, this is the connector that you need, the long blue connector on your display. On to connector 7. This connector is a connector which may cause some problems when you're fitting. This connector plugs into the remnants of what is powering your display on your stock Sur-Ron. It's actually coming out of the horn and the speed switch. I will show you what I mean because I have a standard display for the Sur-Ron here. So here is a standard display for the Sur-Ron. Here are the connectors. When you remove this display to fit our display, you will chase these cables down into your bike, and under the ignition, they will unplug. There is a male and the female. Connector number 7 will plug into what is left by removing these connectors, and one connector will not fit. It will be spare, and you can cover it or tape it up. You will only need one connector for this, and there are 2 connectors coming off of your bike. There shouldn't be any confusion because this will only fit in one of those connectors. So the final connector that we'll be using on this harness, if you don't have an Axon battery, is this one. This one is a 3-pin triangle connector, and it plugs directly into our regen throttle accessory. This goes all the way from the regen throttle on your handlebars directly into this connector here. So you will run it across your handlebars, through your ignition, and down into the main harness and plug it directly in here. So 3-pin triangle connector is for your regen throttle accessory. The next connectors you will only use if you have an Axon battery. This is connector 9, the smallest black circular connector, and connector 10, which is a 2-pin connector, which looks very similar to one of the connectors that comes on your battery harness, which is basically what it is. If you are not using an Axon battery, you do not need to worry about these connectors. If you are using an Axon battery, I will also put a guide up for how to connect that on a separate video. So if you are just installing a controller using any other battery or using a standard battery, you do not need these 2 connectors. Finally, you have this connector, which is connector 11. Please put this to one side because you don't need it for anything. It may be used for a future accessory. Just keep it safe, and we will let you know if we ever need to use this connector. So I'd like to also talk a little bit about the display. The display has 3 separate cables, the longest of which will go into connector 6, that goes all the way down from your handlebars through the ignition and into your bike, plugging into connector 6. Then you also have another 2 which are the same length. One is blue and one is green. The blue one, for this moment, we're not using. It's going to be used potentially for a later accessory, so you can take this one up. You do not need this on any bike. Then you have the green one. The green connector plugs directly into our function switches on your handlebars. So the configuration will go something like you have your grip, then you have your regen throttle, then you have your function switches. Your function switch will run all the way down to this connector on the display. So to conclude this video, I'm just going to leave you with the information aid that we started the video with. You can refer to this again if you are fitting your controller. If you do need any help, you can reach out to us using the help function on the Axon app, or you can email us using the email address info@axon.racing. Thanks for watching.